my name's Lorin. I'm the dietitian at High Risk Obstetrical Consultants, and I'm here to go over some nutrition information with you to help you with a healthy pregnancy. And I want to specifically go over this book. You may receive that ahead of time, or you will get it at your appointment when you come to see us face to face. So we'll start out on page 9, and that is just going to show us a little bit about what carbohydrates are. Now, carbohydrates are going to help us keep blood sugars under control, and we want to make sure that we are meeting guidelines because carbohydrates do give us energy, but they also raise blood sugar. So we want to make sure we're getting enough, but not too much at one time. So we're looking at starch, fruit, and milk, and if you look at the table, you can see all of the different foods that are laid out in their food groups. And each portion that provides carbohydrate is about 15 grams of carbohydrate. So each portion you see here is about a half a cup measure for 15 grams. And in the starch group, we do include breads and cereals. We include crackers and beans and starchy vegetables, the milk and yogurts, and also the fruits are considered carbohydrate. Now, we do have to measure these foods. You can eat any of these foods. The non-starchy vegetables and the proteins, which are on this half of the table, you do not have to measure. So at some point, we might put a little meal together where you can see a small amount of food versus a large amount of food so that you're not hungry. Our goal is not to make you hungry as we are limiting the carbohydrates. So as you flip through the book, we get more specific in portion sizes for each group. So under the starch group, you'll see a slice of bread, 1 ounce serving, or a small biscuit, and you'll see that these biscuits are very tiny. The fast food biscuits are closer to 30 grams of carbohydrate, as well as an English muffin or a roll. Those would be closer to 30 grams. The cereals are kind of a touch and go thing. Some people can tolerate cereal at half a cup, which would be this measurement, which is very small. And some people can't even tolerate a half cup measure without their blood sugars going up. So we recommend trying it once. If you can tolerate with a good blood sugar reading, you might be able to eat that food. If not, we would recommend to avoid cereal. The grains are a 1/3 cup, and that would be half of this larger measurement. This measurement's actually a 2/3 cup measure, so half of that. And it looks to be about like this for rice, this for pasta, and any other grains at a 1/3 cup. Now the starchy vegetables might be a half a cup of potato, mashed potatoes, or a small baked potato like this, half a cup of peas, or a small piece of corn, half a cup of corn or corn on the cob, about half of those thicker pieces that you can get in the frozen section. And then crackers and snacks, maybe 6 saltines here, or 3 graham cracker squares. If you prefer something a little sweet, like animal crackers, 3 graham crackers, maybe protein or granola bars. Try to find those around 15 grams of carbohydrate. And then with the beans, these are half a cup. Beans, peas, and lentils give about 15 grams of carbohydrate. They also give protein. So protein is important to add with the carbohydrate to help slow down the absorption of the carb. It can sometimes give us a better blood sugar. Now fruit is a half a cup, or a small piece of fruit. So when I say small, about like this apple, 15 grams. Or half of a cantaloupe, half of a grapefruit, half a banana. So these you would count for 30 grams if you ate the whole fruit. There's a half a cup of grapes here. You can see those, 5 or 6 strawberries. Now strawberries are going to give they're a better glycemic index, so they might give a better blood sugar. We do want to avoid juice. Juice is pure sugar. It's like drinking sodas. But milk is good for us. So a whole cup of milk for 15 grams, 12 if we want to be very specific, per the book, but it doesn't matter what percentage fat you get, the carbohydrates will stay the same. And yogurt's in that group too. Any type of yogurt, whether it's Greek or light yogurt, as long as it says 15 grams of carbohydrate on your label, those are the ones we want you to shop for. Now the non-starchy vegetables, as we said earlier, you can have as much of these as you want. You do not have to measure them. Half a cup cooked or a whole cup raw is the measurement, but you can add any of them, and that is just a small portion here. Your book has a full list. Protein does not have carbohydrate. There are some protein foods that might, so they might be made from a bean. Those would be the non-meat or the vegetable type proteins. Now some other protein sources that are not considered meat, would be eggs or peanut butter, cheese, and cottage cheese. So that's this one. And then everything else, you don't have to measure portion sizes for your meats. That would include chicken and fish and pork, and then you have some other lists for you. Even bacon. Bacon at 3 slices is going to be a meat, 1 slice is going to be in the fat group, so that's kind of tricky too. But none of those are going to add carbohydrate. And then if you're looking to fill up a little bit more, we can look at the fat group, and this might include avocados, nuts, or seeds. And these things will give about 45 calories for the one serving, maybe a tablespoon for most of these, or a small portion of nuts. Those are all listed for you. So be careful about portion size for calories if you need to worry about getting too many calories that way. But if you're trying to fill up, trying to add some calories, it's a great place to get extra. And then if we're thinking about combination foods like casseroles, macaroni and cheese, we can measure about a half a cup for 15 grams for those. And then if you are going to any restaurants or fast food restaurants, try to look them up online before you go, so you have a few choices to pick ahead of time and you're not stuck ordering very high carb foods. You kind of know what you're going to get before you get there. And then with sweets and desserts, we really want to avoid most of these. There may be a few things that you can add, like 100 calorie packs, 5 vanilla wafers. These are things that are 15 grams or less that give you that sweet craving and kind of give you that fix. So most of those we're just going to cross out 100%. But we have a page here that goes over some snacks and extras. The fruit is in on that list, crunchy things, also sweet things. So you can take a look at those. There are some proteins that you can add. So for example, a 15-gram snack might be 3-gram cracker squares, and your protein would be the peanut butter. You can have that for 15 grams. You can do 6 saltines and maybe add some cheese to that, or you can add some peanut butter to that. You could do a banana for 15 grams or the whole thing for 30. This would be considered half a banana. You can add peanut butter, or you can do nuts with it. So you can put things together like that. The very low carb snacks that are under 5 grams of carbohydrate will not affect blood sugars. Those might be things like crunching on vegetables, or a very small amount of blueberries, maybe a 1/4 cup of blueberries, because 1 serving would be 3/4 cup. Those would be all under 5 grams carbohydrate, and you wouldn't need to count those at all unless you got more than 1 serving. 2 to 3 servings, eventually they add up. And during pregnancy, we do recommend stevia or Splenda as your artificial sugar substitute. And try to avoid the others if you can, and you can use those anytime, just limit the amounts. We do have an alcohol page in this. We're going to not even look at that, cross that out, just ignore it. And we're not drinking alcohol in pregnancy. And then we have a food label, and we can go over this food label a little bit more detail at the visit when you come in, but we're always looking at the serving size. That's going to tell us whether or not the product is even worth looking at or eating, whether it's a realistic portion size. Then we look at the serving size and the total carbohydrate. So we look at this one, which would be a 2/3 cup, and at 2/3 cup, this product here is giving us 37 grams of carbohydrate. So if we have 37 available, then we can use that full serving. If we have other foods on our plate, we don't want to get all of those carbs, then we want to get it closer to 15, then we might just manipulate the portion size, just cut it back in half, or however that product can fit for our meal. So labels are most accurate. If you have the labels, use those. If you don't have the labels, then you can use the portions in the book, and those would be just fine for calculating. Now, the meal plan, we can get more specific with how you are eating when you get to your visit, but we do have some guidelines that we follow. The minimum amount of carbohydrate that we would recommend would be 175 grams a day. That would be 30 grams of carbohydrate 6 times. So we would do 3 meals and 3 snacks. We'd want to space those out to every 3 to 4 hours. We want our fast to be about 8 hours. So we do want a bedtime snack 8 hours before we get up in the morning. And then our max amount of carb would be 30 grams at breakfast. We can do 45 at lunch and dinner, and our snacks can be anywhere from 15 grams to 30 grams. So we can get that more personalized at your visits, but this will give you a little bit of a guideline to get started before you come to see us. Now, we can put some of these foods together. Now, just for a meal, let's say we have a hamburger. So we're gonna do this hamburger at 30 grams of carbohydrate. This bun is 30 grams. So we'll put this hamburger, maybe we want some cheese on that. So here is 30 grams of carbohydrate. We're only gonna do 30 grams at this meal. So this for some people might not be enough food. So if we need a little bit more, we're gonna go to the vegetables. So some of these foods are not very appetizing, so we're just going to pretend like this spinach here is lettuce. So let's add a salad, and we're going to do a salad, and we're going to put some carrots on that, maybe some other fun vegetables that you like. Then we're going to add a tomato to the hamburger. Now here we've got a bigger meal that you might say is a little more filling. You can also add some other things if you want to add extra meats. Let's say we want to do a double hamburger. Let's pretend that's a burger meat too. So now you've got even more food. We're adding calories, we're filling up, but we're not adding extra carb. All we have still is 30 grams of carbohydrate. Now if you want to get 45 grams, maybe add a glass of milk to that. Maybe you have a sweet craving and you add a little dessert, the 3 graham crackers or the 5 vanilla wafers. Let's say you want to go to Mexican night. You got your tortilla, that's 15 grams. Maybe you're going to do some beans, a half a cup. Maybe you're going to have some rice with that. So now we've got 3 servings of carbohydrate. So now we want to add maybe some salsa to that. Maybe we add some lettuce to it. Maybe we add some extra meat. Maybe we've got extra chicken or steak or both. So now we still have 3 servings of carbohydrate, but we've got more food and we're more full. So hopefully this kind of helps you put some meals together before you come see us and helps you come up with some questions that we can talk a little bit more about. Thanks.